Hi. There's so much to catch you up on. Things have been kind of crazy. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law were supposed to come visit, and the day before that they were coming, we went to see my doctor here in Haines, who volunteers with Hospice, and had a very frank discussion with him about what hospice is and is not in Haines, Alaska. And so while there's an incredible volunteer network, and they do everything from house cleaning to reading to you, there's a singing group, there's a masseuse, there are all these things. The reality is this town only has 2,000 people in it. And when it comes to winter, a lot of the population leaves. And so the volunteer network goes down. I live on a road that's not maintained by the town. The road that is maintained by the town is 9 miles from town. And once they plow one end, by the time they get to the other end, it's already covered in, where they began. So there are a lot of challenges here. I've been stuck up here for 8 days with a dog that had a broken leg, which I thought she had a broken leg. She didn't actually have a broken leg, but she had a joint infection. And anyway, it was a nightmare, and it was a lot of work to try to take care of her by myself. Everybody's good now, but I know that could be me. And I know that given I basically would get a lockbox with some medication, and if I can't give it to myself, there's nobody clinically trained on the hospice staff to be able to dispense medication. I would have to rely on Tim, who has to take the dogs back to New York. There's no vet here in town. The nearest vet is 4 hours away, or 4-hour drive to Whitehorse in Canada, crossing a border, or a 4-hour ferry ride to Juneau, or you can put your animal on a plane. And none of that is really feasible if this guy is socked in and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we can't end up in the same position this winter as we were in last winter. Not with these dogs. They're in precarious shape and have been since they were 5 weeks old. So anyway, yeah, that would be me. So we've kind of learned what that would look like. I don't know who I would ask to give me medication, because I'm not going to be in a good space if I'm unable to do it by myself. And I asked about having the nasogastro tube put in so that if I'm constantly vomiting and they can't stop it, and especially since one of the anti-nausea meds that they tried on me I'm allergic to, all of that is a big gray area. I literally have a doctor here, this is so Alaska, said that he and his other volunteering doctor with hospice, that they would gladly come out here, brave the ice and snow, and snowshoe up to get me what I needed. But there's also a clinic in town, and if they're on shift, they'd have to wait till lunch, or they'd have to wait till after their shift, depending on the weather. So yeah, I can't stay here is what it comes down to, and that is breaking my heart. I really don't want to leave. And I'm so mad that my family couldn't come because we had to cancel that trip for them. I just couldn't get my head up off the pillow, and the thought of even having to make dinner for people. I would have help or they'd do it for me. I understand all of that, but just the thought of having someone in my space that I'd have to direct or tell them what I needed and tell them how to get it to me. It felt so overwhelming. Tim canceled it and I could finally breathe again. I was literally just panic attacking. So it turned out it was actually a good thing that we canceled, because probably 3 or 4 days of eating, I started taking laxatives because things weren't moving. And this is exactly what my doctor warned about. Start looking for bowel changes. It's going to be cancer pressing on your intestines. Things are going to be obstructed. There's going to be pain. You're going to end up having your bowels back up. and you'll be throwing up what's coming up. I don't think Tim or I, they kept saying fall is when I would see signs of issues if I did no intervention. But I did interventions. They didn't last long. They made me really ill. I'm so glad I didn't do them all the way through. But I thought I bought myself some time, and I think Tim thought that too. So Friday morning, I told him I was starting to feel symptoms, and that was rough. I just hate looking at the look on his face when I had to share. He just looks so devastated, and yet so there for me. But I was so scared. And I thought I wasn't going to see my friend Anne very much for the rest of the summer because we know we have to move. And she has family coming, our friends coming, and they're going to the Yukon. And it was just a very limited space and time to be together. So we decided that Tim and I were just going to sit here with our heads spinning if we didn't get out and do something. I mean, it's hard to have a guest, but I was like, maybe we can still just enjoy Haines a little bit. And so we made plans with our friends Ann and Tim, and we went to Porcupine. But as we were packing, I started to get sick. And nothing was moving, and I was just belching, and the pressure was getting so intense that I actually told Tim we needed to stop packing and I needed to go to the clinic just to see what was going on. And as I was getting ready to do that, because I was like, oh God, I haven't showered. I need to prep myself because it could be a while to be staying there, or medevaced out. I didn't know what to expect. It was so terrifying. And we were doing a quick wash of all my comfy clothes because nothing's gonna fit. My abdomen is just starting to protrude now. So anyway, I decided when I got out of the shower that I actually felt better. Did a lot of burping. And I really wanted to go. And I thought, you know what? I don't feel like I'm putting anybody in any kind of risk if we do go, because Tim and I were in our own vehicle. We had our dogs. And we could leave any time without stranding our friends, right? And they could follow if they wanted, but they could stay if they, whatever, if they didn't think that they could leave. So I decided to go. And then I freaked out and thought, oh no, I don't have my advanced medical directive filled out. I don't have my DNR filled out. Tim was like, well, if we're gonna go do that before we leave, then maybe we should do the switching the power of attorney from my name to his. And I just started filling out paperwork, and I ran over to Ann and Tim's. I'm like, can you be my witness on these papers? We ran to the bank, got it notarized, turned in my medical papers at the clinic, and then went shopping and we went camping. And all the food that I had packed the night before, I was like, I don't think I can eat anything. But I was so hungry, and I just kept with little pieces of carrots and celery, just nibbling super small bites. Tim was watching me. I know he knew exactly what I was doing and why. But it ended up being okay, thankfully. We had the most glorious fire. We had a lovely dinner, small for me, but lovely all the same, and woke up into this incredible sunrise that was on the mountains on one side and on in the clouds, and going through all the dry flowers on the other side. And it's just incredible. I was so happy, and we were just so relaxed, and the dogs were playing, and they were running through the silt bars, and Hannah would lay down in the water, and just loved being in the cold glacial runoff. And it was just perfection. And I didn't know how long we'd stay, probably not a whole lot longer, but as I was sitting in my chair with my tea, all of a sudden I got this I I don't even know how to describe. It was a sting. It was a really strong sting on my hand, and then it happened again. And I'm using the mug of my coffee cup trying to push it off, but you can see I got bit or stung right where that mark is, and my whole hand has just completely blown up. I'll show you my other one by comparison, but I'm like really bony and have all my veins showing. And this one is a disaster. So off to the clinic we went. I had 3 injections of Benadryl and 2 different steroids. We had to go to the store and pick up antihistamine. I slept. I got really itchy in the middle of the night, had to take more antihistamines. I'm under control now, and it's starting to go down. You can kind of see they put marks. I've washed my hands since, but they put these marks where all the swelling was. And you can still see how yellow that is, where it just pulls, right? But I couldn't even close a fist yesterday. My hands would only go pretty much like that. And I said to Tim, oh my God, this is how I'm gonna go out. And I just signed my DNR, and I was like, for a bug bite? Are you kidding me? And my teeth were starting to go a little numb, and I was like, is this gonna be anaphylaxis? I have an EpiPen, because sometimes, not because I go into anaphylaxis, but because if I get bit near my head, I swell so badly for every bug bite that they're afraid that if I ever had a bite near my head, that it would close off my airway. So, yeah, this has been our week, and it has been really freaking tough. It just set everything into motion so fast. And we realized that it's a good thing we were supposed to go on this raft trip with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law and on Sunday. And I called and canceled after all the things that had gone wrong on Friday and Saturday. And I felt so bad to cancel, but I was like, I think, cancer symptoms are starting, and that's just going to put everybody at risk. And it just makes me realize I can't plan anything now. Except for talking to my medical team in Juneau. And the plan is to see if they can get me into either a CAT scan or an ultrasound or something that tells me what we're looking at and what the possible time frame is. They don't do PET scans here, so I can't compare one to the other from January and see how far it's grown and how fast. But they can do CT scans, so I'm really hoping that we can get that in. Tim has an audit in New York he has to be at in the middle or in early September. We're not sure if I should just fly out and he'll drive and meet me, or if I can wait for him to come back and then we take a leisurely kind of vacation-y trip back to New York. But I'm trying to figure out how to pack up all my computer equipment, my camera equipment, and fit in this tiny rig with 2 dogs and 2 people and all my winter gear, because that's not how we usually roll. It's like we roll between 2 houses because we have enough stuff at both right now and can survive for a little while, but I'm going for the whole winter. So it's going to be a big pack job. And I couldn't handle reading all of the comments, and I love you guys for everything that you have to say, but I can't handle the you never know and people live longer and da-da-da-da-da-da, because it just feels like I sit here defending myself, saying my story is not going to be that. And it just hurts to hear people, I know, wishing me well in the best possible way, but knowing it can't be true. And so I had to kind of walk away, and I did this one post. It was not a video, it was a written post with a video linking to the things that Nurse Hospice Julie says are the absolute worst symptoms of a dying person. And it's everything I've been told by 4 different institutions that I'm going to face. So that was really distressing. And when I posted, I said, please don't comment because I just can't answer you back. And one of the first comments I got was how disrespectful I was being to my followers and how oh, mean-spirited was the word used. And I thought, wow, I'm letting you guys see how bad some days can get and how debilitating it is and how prayers don't work. I'm glad to say, for the most part, you all have been so flippin' supportive, and I am so grateful. I am so, so grateful. You know, I'm so grateful for the people who have bought my art in the past 2 months. I think there are like 5 of you at this point. I don't talk about it much anymore, so I know it's not at the forefront, but it's really hard to be creative when you're so stressed out. They're 2 very different mindsets. But I did run into a bear, several bears, but this one in particular was pretty magnificent, and I had my camera, so I do want to work on that one. I woke up at one point to a voice saying, work on your art. So I'm trying. I will get back to that. But anyway, thank you for those supporting me in that way. You know, one commenter was like, you're just doing this for the money, which is kind of hilarious. In 2 months, I've maybe made, $400. It makes me sick that the house that we were going to sell in New York so that we could be in this one together, that when I'm gone, Tim's going to have to sell this house. You know what? We have a lot of things we're dealing with, and I have not been able to work a solid job for a very long time. And to have somebody say you're just doing this for the money is just so freaking laughable. It's not funny. So anyway, all right, I'm going to go. And I wish you all well. I know so many of you share these incredible stories with me about the things you're going through, and that they're equal, if not worse, than what I'm going through right now. And my heart is with you. I promise you that. I read all the comments, even if I can't respond to all of them. I really do try to read them all. And there's so many. And you guys are fantastic. All right. I'm going to go before I get even mushier. All right. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for listening.